All right, it's time to talk basketball. I'm Jose Salviati, editor at thepeachbasket.net. He is Steve Purciello, a longtime educator, vice principal, high school basketball coach, athletic director, and the host of Celtic Chalk Talk. Celtic Chalk Talk is a pod dedicated to the latest news and opinions surrounding the Boston Celtics from a lifelong fan. Steve, that pod drops new episodes every Monday. But again, this is the Shot Clock Pod, the best 24 minutes of NBA random thoughts online anywhere. This podcast was born out of the contents in Steve's 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts articles, which he publishes weekly. Steve and I have exactly 24 minutes to discuss what's on his mind around the NBA. Today, we'll discuss his latest 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts article, where he shares his random thoughts after game one and game two of the NBA Finals, as well as his overall thoughts about the series. It's always a good article, but this one really hit on some key points. We have a lot to talk about today. Now, if you're listening to this, we're grateful. Thank you. You're listening to one of the independent fan driven shows on the Peach Basket Podcast network of shows. We're not owned by a big media company, which means what you hear comes straight from fans like Steve and I. If you believe voices like this should be heard and you believe in independent, fan driven content, the best way to support us is simple. Keep listening, tell a friend. When this episode ends, head over to the Peach Basket Podcast Network. Check out more fan run podcasts. Head over to the peachbasket.net, read some great content, and help this independent network grow the way it started organically, one hoops fan at a time. We appreciate your support. Thank you. Steve, are you ready?
Ready.
Let's do it. Now, like I said, you broke this up into recaps, game one, game two, and then overall. We're going to take them one by one. Let me start the clock. Boom. We go back to game one. All right. Now, the Knicks were coming off a long delay, right? They hadn't played basketball in over a week. We talked about this last week. That's a trap game. I really thought San Antonio Spurs would win game one. I thought the Knicks might take game two, but that's not what happened. Now, before we dive into the overall series, let's talk about game one. You called out, or I should say better said, you identified the NBA's best closer after that game. Who is it and why did you call that out?
It's very obvious. It's Jalen Brunson. He's done it all year. And in that game, I believe he scored 8 straight points by himself. San Antonio didn't score, and that broke open the game. It was a tie game at the time, and he broke it open. He's done this many times. If you watch the Knicks on TV, which I try not to, but I see a lot of their games, he does it all the time. Fourth quarter, get out of his way and let him go. And he did it again. He's just incredible. And then really think about it. He's 6'1", and he's able to go into the paint and get open shots all day. He's got a variety of moves. His footwork is tremendous. He's just pound for pound. He's as good as anybody in the NBA.
Yeah. All right. Outstanding. Every single topic has got a rabbit hole we can go down. So I'm going to be very careful not to go down too many of these. But I got to ask this question. Becky Hammon, a former San Antonio Spurs assistant coach, said of the guy you just called the best closer in the NBA, a guy who's proven it, a guy who took his team on his 6'1", which you know in the NBA means he's closer to probably 5'11", shoulders, and willed them to a win. She said of him, he's too small to lead an NBA team to the NBA Finals. Do you agree?
That was a stereotype. I don't know if you have his talent and his footwork and ability to get a shot at any time. I don't know if you can agree with that. I think that's predicated on the fact that if you're 6'1" and you're going to go in the land of big people, you're not going to get your shot away. He's got a fallback. He's got footwork. He's able to get around people. He just does so many things well. And more importantly, he's a tremendous shooter. It probably is right, and I would say he's an exception, but he's the exception to the rule in every way as a basketball player.
Okay. And I'm gonna keep going down the rabbit hole, but I promise we're not gonna go any deeper because we got a lot more to talk about. But is Jalen Brunson better player than Allen Iverson?
Different type of player. Iverson let it rip, and he had no conscience, literally. Brunson stays within a team framework, and also I think as a coach, I'd rather coach Brunson because Brunson is more coachable, obviously, and he likes to practice. which doesn't hurt it. And it seems like Brunson has a good rapport with his teammates. I don't know what Iverson, I think everybody respected the ability, but they realized sometimes he can go off the reservation. Where this guy, and Brunson has no problem at any time throwing a pass to somebody wide open. He does everything right. Even if
Yeah,
you don't like the Knicks, you have to sit there and admire this basketball player. And he
yeah,
gives, what he does is for smaller people who play basketball, young
yeah,
people, it gives them a lot of hope that, you know what, if I do things correctly, I can go somewhere. Where before that, you had to be 6'4", 6'5", or whatever, as
yeah,
Becky Hammond said. That's not true. If you can master the
yeah,
footwork and the work that he did, his father did a tremendous job coaching him growing up.
yeah,
Uh, and if you don't know, that's Rick Brunson, who's
yeah,
the assistant coach of the Knicks now. But
yeah.
it's remarkable. I just amazed that he always gets his shot off and always hurts you.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree with all of that. Listen, again, I'm just trying to be the devil's advocate here because Becky Hammond specifically called out AI. She said if AI can't win it, Jalen Brunson's not going to win it. He's not better than AI, but you're calling out some key differences, right? Where AI was not necessarily known for his assists and for he was world beat free, but
Yeah,
different, right? He was phenomenal.
yeah,
AI
he
was
was.
phenomenal. But Jalen Brunson is probably a little bit more the overall player, right? Who,
Yeah,
again, is great in the locker room, seems to be well liked. So if this is that turning point where all of a sudden somebody his size can win it all, and more power
yeah,
to him, I'm happy. And I'm sure Becky Hammond will be happy too. But let's see how it plays out. We will stay on game one. All right. Again, this was a game that the Spurs led. If you don't remember, Knicks came back, and then Brunson took over. Now, you called out one key component there. On the Knicks side, you called out Brunson, which of course is fair. Now on the Spurs side, we talked a lot about Wemby, and we're going to talk about him a lot more today, I'm sure. But Celtic great, former Celtic great, Luke Cornett is a good player. But you called out that the drop off defensively from Wemby to Luke is pretty monumental, and that was a problem, wasn't it?
yeah. If you watch the game, when Cornette comes in, the ball pressure and the guards overplaying, forcing the ball out, further out, away from the 3-point line, makes the offense 24 seconds, makes the offense have to figure something out and move quickly. That kind of dissipates because they don't have the guy behind them that if they get beat, although Cornette has had his days and made a great block against Oklahoma City, but
Yeah.
it's not Wembanyama. And guys will challenge Cornette and often win, where they don't challenge Wemby. So that's a big difference in the overall team defense. And I think what it also says is most teams get the centers now have evolved into becoming rim protectors first. And if they do that, their overall defense naturally gets better.
So is this, if I'm the Knicks, is that my window of opportunity, right? When Wemby comes out, Cornette comes in, that's when we attack. And I ask that question because it's a carryover to the next topic. A lot of people are saying the Knicks have figured out Wemby, right? Because its shooting is down. You missed. They're saying they figured him out. Have the Knicks figured out Wemby, or are they just taking advantage of the non-Wemby moments?
They move the ball well, they penetrate, and then they kick. And the bigger thing would be they're shooting way above what they usually would shoot from three. And they're getting open shots, so I guess a professional basketball player who's a shooter is going to make them. But they're getting wide open shots off of that penetration and on the kick. So I guess what the Knicks have done, first of all, they're on a roll, an incredible
Yeah.
roll. But at some point, you can't shoot 37 to 40% every night from three. You just can't. It's the averages, and they're doing it. So that's a lot. And you're getting guys like Landry Shamet, who's, as they said the other night, he's a minimum player. He's making the minimum money for his time in the NBA. He's shooting beyond belief, and it's almost like all the gods have come together and decided this is the
Mhm.
Knicks' turn, and we're gonna make sure. Mikal Bridges, I think in the first half he didn't miss a shot. My goodness, he's a good shooter, but you got to miss sometime, and that's the point.
Yeah.
And they're playing very well.
Yeah. Second best streak to the Golden State Warriors. I believe we won 15 in a row. I think they've won 12 in a row now. I might be off by one or two.
13.
But yeah, is it 13? Yeah. So if they match the Warriors, that means they sweep the Spurs. They're on a heck of a roll, undeniable. But I want to key in on Wemby, right? You and I talked about it here multiple times. The key to the Spurs is getting Wemby the ball. He's your best player. Get him the ball. He needs at least 20 shots. Make him or miss him. That's who you got to ride with. Now he's getting those 20 shots. He's not making them. So again, have the Knicks figure this guy out. And I'm going to ask you another way. If Wemby can't lead his team to a finals victory on his team's home court, is he a superstar? Or is he just still on the cusp?
I think the best way to answer that is he's 22 years old. And then the
Mm-hmm.
second best way to answer that, there was another pretty good player, and I wrote about it, that was 22 years old the first time he played in the finals, and they got swept.
Yeah,
It's LeBron. So let's
right.
be patient here. It will get better. Experience is the best teacher, and he's going through something. He'll be fine. Just get him
Yeah.
the ball. If you're going to win or lose, you go home with him. I'm not going home with any of the other guys, and there's some nice players there, but I'm not going home with them. I'm going with Wemby, and hey, if we lose, we shake their hands and move on. So that's my answer to that.
Yeah, and again, I don't disagree. My first thought was Shaq, right? When he led his very young Orlando Magic team against the Rockets, and Akeem Olajuwon showed him a thing or two, right? But nobody questioned Shaq's dominance. Nobody
Right.
questioned whether Shaq was a superstar. He needed to go through that to become who he was, and maybe that's what we're seeing for Victor Wembanyama. Oh, let's see. Let's move on to game two. The Knicks won game two. It was a shock. A shock to me for sure. I'm sure it was a shock to San Antonio and everybody in attendance. Game two, slam dunk. Spurs are going to win. The Spurs are going to win. There was no doubt in my mind that the Spurs were going to win game two. None. So much so that my wife said, "Hey, there's a street fair going on. Time of the tip starts at the time of the tip." I said, "Yeah, let's go. It's Spurs are winning. I'm not even worried." And then look what happened. I'm blown away. So you wrote about a lot of key moments in game two. One of them, Mike Brown, apparently, and I didn't know this about him until I read your article and I did a little digging. He has gotten a little bit of flack for holding on to his challenges. He doesn't call them a lot. He held on to one, and it was a crucial moment in the game. Tell us a little bit about that.
Anunoby had the ball in the corner, shot clock going down, threw up a crazy shot, but he got hit on the wrist and then he tapped it out of bounds. It was a
Yep.
foul. And
Yep.
Josh Tiven, the referee, was right there and he didn't call a foul. Okay, now I'm thinking to myself, okay, San Antonio should want to get the ball quickly and get it in because there's a foul. It's an obvious foul. They didn't. Brown used his challenge. Now, what was interesting was I don't think the Knicks had scored for a couple minutes, and San Antonio went on a run to cut that 14-point lead to nothing, to tie or whatever. It was a tie. What happened there was the Knicks got not bailed out, it was a foul, but they got bailed out by the challenge, and Anunoby made all three. If Brown doesn't challenge, the Knicks were the ball wasn't going in, and they weren't getting great shots. So they were in trouble. And that kind of saved their bacon for that moment
Yeah.
and really changed everything. Again, no challenges for Brown. Well, he just got a bad call against him, and what are you going to do? But he did have a challenge, and he used it, and it was a big play in the game because it got the Knicks able to muster something. It's very difficult when your team is not scoring while the other team's on a run. All you're saying to yourself is just a basket and we'll be okay, or just some points and we'll be okay. When you don't get them, it's just more pressure each possession, and that's what was going on
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah, again, a little bit of a rabbit hole. You're a former coach. I coached a little bit, but we never had challenges. I don't know if you did when you
No,
coached. What would be your thought process? Because mine has always been to do what Mike Brown did. I want to hold on to those when I absolutely need them, and you absolutely need them in the fourth quarter. You don't want to waste one in the first. It doesn't make any sense to me. Just generally speaking, do you appreciate Mike Brown's
Well,
approach, or would yours be a little different?
what you're seeing is some coaches will use them on an out of bounds play early. That's a poor call. And they'll use it because they know they're going to win that. And then they have
Yeah,
still have that challenge for later. That would be the way I'd look at it. And that's a common thing. What you're also seeing now is referees guy goes to the basket and when it gets knocked out of bounds, and he might have been the last one to touch it. They're calling that. Where before they would give that guy the ball back and let them take it in. So what you're seeing is the referees are now doing a better job on those out of bounds calls. But
yeah,
that's where it is. And by the way, I just want to mention something with the referees. If you're watching, this is a thankless job. Every play, there's banging and holding and grabbing and so on. Every play. If you, it almost becomes negotiation because now you have to figure out is that serious enough or is that going to change things enough to make the call? And you want to keep, if you keep blowing the whistle, you ruin the whole flow of the game. So you want to
right,
keep the game moving. And you also want to recognize the egregious fouls. So it's really a line that's a very difficult line for these guys. And I'm just going to add all three of the officials the other night were all guys who were crew chiefs during the year. If you're a crew chief, you're one of the best 15 officials or 20 officials in the league. So we're not looking at these guys like the guys during the season who might not be as seasoned and as good. This is the top, I believe, 18 officials in the NBA. So this is what you're getting. And it's hard to call this stuff because you see fouls every time. Any kind of
right.
drive, there's a push. Any kind of ball handling, it's a push. And San Antonio is a very physical team. And the Knicks are playing very physically also.
Yeah. Yeah, and you called out the refs. I was going to call that out as well in your article. It's a thankless job, and but I think so far it's been a well officiated series. Let's hope that continues. Let's stay in game two. Again, tight matchup, great game, super fun game to watch. I did go to the street fair, but a couple of vendors had the game up, so I got to watch it, which was nice. Now, it was a crucial moment at the end. The Knicks missed a shot. I think it was a tie game, or maybe the Spurs were down by two. Wemby got the rebound, drives up court, passes the ball. It was either Vassell or Castle, I don't know who, and it hits him off his back. Just a horrible mistake there. But the Spurs had a timeout. Let's talk about that. We talked a lot about the deer in the headlights potentially for the Spurs, and we're seeing them make some mistakes, which is not unexpected. But the coach and the coaching staff of the Spurs, the first time, this is their first dance too. That, in my opinion, was a mistake that the coaching staff made. What did you see?
As soon as you got to take into consideration your team and so on. I know the trend in the NBA is to get the ball up the court quick and get the best shot you can because usually
Yeah,
something will happen. But if you take in consideration two things, it was a tie game. You have the ball, the shot clock's off. If you call timeout, you get the ball at the other end of the court. You can run the clock down and then get it to Wembyama with about 4 or 5 seconds left and let him go. And the option, if that's the last shot, the worst thing that can happen is you're going to overtime. That's the worst thing. And you have momentum because you've come back from 14 down. So everything is in your way. Why they didn't call timeout as soon as my mind said timeout. As soon as Wemby got
yeah,
the rebound, timeout. Just stop the clock.
yeah,
Because again, we get the ball up the other end of the court, which is good. And we just run that clock down and we leave either with a tie or we win. They didn't do that. I was very surprised about that. There's a couple things that Mitch Johnson's done in this series that have astounded me or surprised me. And not that would have changed it, might have, but it would have changed the series. The Knicks outplaying them and playing much better. But he's not giving his team the best chance to win, in my opinion.
yeah. And that's tough. And you dig into Mitch Johnson's coaching staff, right? There's not a whole lot of veterans on that coaching staff. Now, one of his assistant coaches is the Orlando Magic coach. Now he just got the job. So obviously, there's some well respected people, but nobody with experience, nobody that might be able to nudge him a little bit and say, call a timeout here.
Sean Sweeney runs the
Mm,
defense. He's not an off. His
gotcha.
responsibility isn't with the offense. So I get it. I get the whole thing, but I just thought that a timeout would help. And then if we're going to really not nitpick but go after, I watch a game, and if your best player is only getting 4 shots at the half, we got a problem. We have a
Yeah.
real problem, to the point where, as the coach, I sit down at halftime and say, look, he got us here. What are we doing? What are we doing? And
Yeah.
then I would also look at him and say, when in doubt, shoot the ball. Stop passing stupid passes around the perimeter. Take the ball to the basket or just pull up and shoot. Who can stop you? Nobody's big enough to block your shot. Do what you please on the court. So to
Yeah.
me, 4 shots in the first half, I you want to be positive in today's NBA, but at some point you look at your team and say, "Look, you're not going to do this." Then I've got to find somebody who's going to do it, because we're giving away too much here. I don't want my fifth player to shoot the ball. I want my first player to shoot the ball.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
think about basketball, you've got your 5 guys, and let's say they're taking 80 shots a game. In your mind, you want to think about my best player. How many shots should he get of those 80? 30%? That's 24 shots. And then work from there. He did end up with about 22, I
Mhm.
believe, but that's fine. At least 30%, if not more, that you've got to get out of him. And then you think about it, okay, De'Aaron Fox, 10 shots, 12 shots, that's great. But hopefully he's getting 7, 8 assists. He's your point guard,
Yeah.
and so on. But then you look down the team and you figure out how it'll, percentage wise, how it'll add up to 100%. But I do want my best player taking the shots.
Yeah, undeniable, no notes. Let's talk about when a Wemby shots. The San Antonio Spurs best player. 9.5 seconds left. The Spurs foul. Jalen Brunson, the best closer in the NBA, goes to the line. Unbelievably misses one. Lou Cornett gets the rebound. Now, the Spurs got a chance here, right? They're on the home court. They've got the best player in the NBA, yeah, the most unique player in the NBA. Let's go there.
Yeah,
Let's go there. In Wembyama, and they get him that last shot, and it's a good look. A corner, a little bit inside the 3 point line, a little outside of the free throw. I think a shot that this guy's going to make 75% of the time hits the back rim. Makeable shot, but he missed it.
yeah,
You okay with that whole
of
scenario? Because
course,
I was. I thought that was the shot they
of
wanted.
course,
They just didn't go.
of course. And things happen. You just got to look at it this way. You can denigrate him for missing the shot. Again, 22 years old, never been in this spot. So you almost have to be patient and say, the next time it'll go. It'll happen and deal with it. But if you really think about it, do you want Wembenyama taking that shot, or do you want Cass's name or Keldon Johnson or any of those people? I'll go home with that, satisfied we got a
Oh,
good shot.
yeah,
As a coach, that's all you can do, is hope they get a good shot out of it. And they got it.
yeah,
Just didn't go in. That's the way it works.
yeah. No, I agree with that. It's an easier pill to swallow, even though it's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Now, let's pivot back. We're still in game two, but we're going to talk about the Knicks now. And you wrote about this, and probably to me, the biggest shock of this whole entire series has been the job that Karl-Anthony Towns is doing on Victor Wembanyama. Listen, I don't know that anybody saw this coming. Is Cat the Wemby stopper?
No, I think Cat has played offense and done well, and San Antonio's confused on how they want to defend that. For a while in the first half, the Knicks were running a lot of screen and rolls with and screening Wemby, and Towns was diving into the paint, and he had a guard on him, and they were throwing the ball to him from 5 feet out, and he was just turning and putting the ball in the basket. Good move by the Knicks. Now, if I'm San Antonio, I'm thinking about putting somebody else on Towns, moving Wemby down to whoever is in the corner, either corner, and guarding that person, preferably Josh Hart, because then they can do this but Towns won't be there because Wemby's there. So you're going to take that away. That was my thinking. But Towns is making shots and he's doing well. He's playing great. But the point being, there's got to be a strategy. How do we stop what's effective for the Knicks? And they did it in the second half where Towns didn't go off, but he's holding his own. Now, offensively, if you're talking about San Antonio, Wembenyama has got to just shoot the ball. How many silly, and silly is a bad word, but stupid passes just around the perimeter that he makes? Do something with the damn ball. You're the best guy on the court. Do something. Well, maybe you're second best with Brunson, but do something. Make something happen. Even if you go to the basket, they defend, double up on you. Somebody's open. Do something. Don't just catch it, dribble once and throw it. Do make something happen here. And he's not. And that's something that's got to get through to him. You've got to make something happen. And he's not. And that's a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, undeniable. Which takes us, and you heard the buzzer go off, but man, it's the NBA Finals. We do this all the time. Anyway, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep rolling because we got one more thing to talk about. Sorry, had a little something in my ear there. All right, so let's talk about it now. The series is 0-2 for the Spurs, 2-0 for the Knicks. No NBA team has ever lost the first two games at home and gone on to win it all, ever. Oh, and it's happened to two other teams, if I'm recollecting correctly, and they both lost. So this is NBA history. If the Spurs can make it back, now you wrote when in your series overview that the Knicks have been resilient. The Knicks have been the better team. Experience is basically beating inexperience. Now the Spurs have got two games of experience now. They go into Madison Square Garden, which I don't know, can be a scary place to play. It can be a fun place to play. I don't know. I never played there, so I don't know. But the Spurs have proven they can win on the road. What do you think? Now, let me ask you this way. Next week, you and I have a show to do. Are we going to talk about the NBA champion New York Knicks? Or are we going to talk about game 6 and 7 coming up? What do you foresee in New York?
We'll be talking about the championship. For San Antonio, they've just got to sit there and say, we got to get one. The one thing that you got to think about, if somehow San Antonio can pierce this invincibility around the Knicks, you don't know what's going
Yeah,
to happen. So you
right.
got to get one, and it's got to be this one tomorrow night. Because if they don't get the one, it's over. And I don't see it happening. And it's not because it's in Madison Square Garden. I just don't see it happening. I just think everything's stacked against them.
Yeah.
And the crowd
I
doesn't
love
help.
what
Go ahead. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
the crowd's gonna be crazy. No, I'm excited for that because everywhere the Knicks play, and I'm saying everywhere outside of New York, there's a Knick crowd. When you play at Madison Square Garden, there's gonna be one or two poor Spurs fans there. It's gonna be craziness, and that's fun to watch. But you called out something that kind of got me thinking. Pierce that air of invincibility. Right now, the Knicks are feeling like world beaters because they've beaten everybody. You've got to be able to punch them in the face once and get a little bit of blood, right? My first thought was Rocky, right? Remember those Rocky movies,
Yeah,
right? When he fights Drago. And so right now the Knicks are Drago and they're coming in, they're in Russia, they're fighting, they're not going to lose. And then Rocky just boom, and he tastes his own blood for the first time. And that was it, right? So it's a silly analogy, but that's what I see happening if things go right for the Spurs. They got to not only I think they got to certainly win the game, undeniable. But they don't got to blow out the Knicks. But they've got to have an easy win. It can't be a game that the Knicks can go say analytically we won. The Cavs did. This has got to be a no doubter that leaves a little bit of doubt in the Knicks' mind going into Game 4. Do you agree?
totally. They have to just, right now, the Knicks think whatever they do is going to work. And they have to
Yeah.
begin to think that it doesn't always work and have some doubt when they're playing. And right now, they're playing free and easy and not worried and just take the shot. And guys are coming off the bench and throwing stuff in, and it just everything's working. So yeah, yeah, San Antonio needs to stand up and just go right at them. And by the way, I know it's hard to win on the road, but if you do get off to a nice start and you can stifle them, the crowd gets quiet, and that's what your goal should be coming in.
I'm kind of digging this Rocky analogy now, man. We're getting into the 4th of July. I've already got the theme music playing in my ear. I know you do too. Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun. Let's go. I'm excited. I'm excited. Game 3 is going to be fun, and I'm excited to talk about it next week. But that is it. Our time is up. You heard the buzzer go off. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Make sure to read Steve's entire 13 Rules Random NBA Thoughts article. We will link it wherever you're watching or listening to this show today. And join us next week for more NBA Random Thoughts as we recap either the ongoing NBA Finals or we'll celebrate the NBA champion New York Knicks. Steve got his vote. I'm going in the other direction. I'm going to say we're going to talk about a great finals, and we'll see. We'll talk next week. Thanks, Steve.
Take care.